Welcome to the Forum, your way to keep up with state and community leaders, experts, and local business leaders. This is your chance to hear from and talk to people that affect your life right here in Rim Country. You can express your opinions by calling 474-2427. And remember, the comments and opinions of guests and callers are not necessarily the opinions of KMOG. Welcome to Rim Country Forum.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of the Rim Country Forum, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Charlie Seraphin with you this morning. We have a great program for all of you because everybody loves paying taxes, and we'll be talking about taxes today. Isn't that special? First, we want to thank our sponsors, the Power of Fives, the Dana Law Group, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center, Pinnacle Propane, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, the Owens Law Firm, Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration, and please support all of our local sponsors when you do. Tell them Charlie sent you. And we are so honored to have in studio this morning, turn your microphones on here and get ready to roll, Monica Wolforth, who is the Gila County Treasurer. Good morning, Monica.
Good morning.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We saw you during the campaign before you were elected, and now you are the official.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Payson.
Yeah, thank you. And Mary Springer, who is the County Finance Director. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
I said you actually saved me one day. I remember I don't even know what we were talking about, but you called in and had all the information and sort of straightened us all out, and that was good.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah. So anybody who has any questions about anything pretty much can call and ask Mary and Monica because they'll have the answers today.
Or we have friends.
Or we have friends in high places, yeah. So I'd like to do this in the beginning, and somebody called me up after the program last week, and they gave me a really hard time. They said, why do you put people on the spot? I said, what do you mean? You said you always ask them where they're from. I said, no, I don't ask them where they're from. I ask them where they were born. And then how they got to Payson from there. So I'm going to go back, even though you've been here before, Monica. I'll start with you. Where were you born?
I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, so I'm a true native.
There you go. And what brought you to Globe? Yeah, to Gila County.
Long story. That's my husband. Okay. I had a public job that I had for 20 plus years. And all of a sudden, husband said, hey, I want to do a cafe or something. So we were looking around for buildings, and we found one in Globe. And we went to Globe, opened up a small cafe, and did that for 8 years. Okay.
And then you took an interest in the treasurer's office because, you shared it before, because of customer service.
That, and also my background is in insurance and financial planning. Okay. So numbers is what I've done forever.
And I asked you earlier this morning, how is customer service at the county treasurer's office now?
We made a lot of improvements.
Yeah. So people aren't necessarily happy when they come in to pay their taxes or to deal with the treasurer's office, but we try to be as patient with them as we can.
Absolutely. In fact, since I've been there 4 months, we've had 2 customers who are a little bit not happy, and I didn't take an office there. My chief deputy, she has the office, so I'm sitting out in the pool with the other ladies, and I was listening what was going on. So finally, after a couple minutes, I got up and I went to handle the customer at the window and kind of diffused the situation, and after that, the situation was fine.
What are people generally upset about when they come in? If they are upset, what are they upset about when they come to the treasurer's office?
Mainly about returning a check or not knowing that a tax bill is due and there's interest because of late payments.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the due dates and late payments and that sort of thing. But first, we're going to say hi to Mary, who's been involved in county government for how long?
I think about 16 years in June. 16
years in June. Mm-hmm. And you live here in Payson?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And where were you born?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Michigander, Wolverine kind of.
A transplant.
A transplant. And what brought you from Michigan to Payson?
Well, I moved with family in 1976. And I listened to Mike Farrell on Cool FM for a lot of years. Yeah. And I worked for Honeywell, retired from there, and went up to Navajo County and worked up in Navajo County for a few years and then came to Payson and started working for Gila County.
So you obviously have an accounting background, yes?
I have a business management and an organizational management.
Oh, okay. Very good. So, can you tell us a little about what does the finance director for the county do? What sorts of things do you handle on a daily basis?
We handle, well, at this time of the year, we're working on budgets and tax rates. Audits, always audits. We've gone through, in the little over 3 years that I've been there, about 23 audits. So it's been intense. But catching up on things, looking at policies, reviewing policies, and then on a day-to-day basis, people calling in, having issues that need something fixed. So just kind of managing an organization.
I remember during the campaign there was a lot of criticism of the county for a stretch of time when the audits weren't done or weren't submitted or weren't authorized or signed off on or whatever. And so the 23 audits in the last 3 years is sort of a catch-up campaign, is it?
It is. We were current as of December of last year. We are working on our 2020 audit now. We're a little bit late on that. The federal government gave us a little bit of allowance because of COVID, so that's due in June, and we're gonna be on time with that. So then we're caught up until the next audit, which is coming right around the corner.
Can we talk about what happened in the interim during the period when the audits weren't signed off on or it weren't done? How did it happen?
I wasn't there, so I'm going to give you kind of a speculation.
Okay.
I know that they did have an audit done. It wasn't done properly. And so the state stepped in and said, we need to get involved in the audits. And so that put them behind. And so when I got there, we were just wrapping up 2015. So in 2018, we were working on 2016. And we've been doing like 2 audits a year ever since I've been there. And it's not just annual and federal. We have excise tax audits. We have land payment audits. It's just a whole bevy of audits that have to be done. And the bad part about that, Charlie, is when you're so far behind, anything you put in place trying to fix, you're trying to fix something that happened in the past. So now that we're at that point that we're current, we can actually look at it and put process improvements in place, which is really a good thing.
When the auditors come back with their report, what sorts of things do they have they recommended in the most recent ones, areas that need improvement in terms of county finance?
A lot of it is policies and process. So we've worked on that. We've put in new policies as of 2018. Credit cards is a big target for them at this point. So we're doing a lot of internal review on credit cards because that's something that just one person can really skew an audit if they don't use the credit card properly. So we're actually doing internal auditing before this next audit process to make sure if somebody's doing something, we catch it before they do.
Got it. So that would be a county employee who mistakenly buys something outside of what was authorized and for that particular credit card. Yeah.
Or if they go over a per diem amount. And in some cases, when you travel, say if you go back to Washington, D.C., which nobody's been doing because of COVID, but a lot of times you can't go and buy a breakfast for our per diem amount. We do have exceptions, but it has to be documented and approved. And so that's just getting that documentation in place, make sure that it's reasonable and that somebody's looked at it.
Monica, how do your how do your operations overlap with the finance director and as a county treasurer? What part of are you involved in the auditing process as well?
Some audits, yes, but the ones that Mary's explaining, we are not involved. But there's one audit currently that the treasurer's office is involved in, and we're almost done with that audit.
And what does that have to do with?
It goes back to where last year there was a error made, and I really can't explain it much because I wasn't in office at the time, but that's coming to closure now. And with that audit, the error was human error. So in the treasurer's office, we're going to take more steps to have more eyes double check data entry.
So somebody just put a wrong number in a wrong column or a wrong amount, and it skews the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And when you get to the bottom line doesn't match with what it should be.
Correct.
Okay. Well, as we kind of promised, because I know everybody's just waiting with bated breath on this, let's talk a little bit about taxes. Where are we with property taxes in the county right now?
As of Friday, for the 2020 taxes, we've collected $79 million out of 73 that was billed. So that leaves us about $4 million left over.
Okay.
Now, today at 5 p.m. is a due date for the second half of the taxes. And we do accept postmarked envelopes. So if you drop it off in the mail and it's postmarked today, we would accept it without any penalties.
Okay. And if you don't drop it in the mail today and it's not postmarked before 5 o'clock this afternoon and you get it tomorrow or next week, how do the penalties work?
There would be interest depending on the amount of the second half, or sometimes people have first half and second half, so that's how the interest is calculated.
And it's calculated on a daily basis?
On a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis?
Yes.
So if you're not going to make the deadline today, technically it's not going to, you don't have to rush to do it tomorrow, but you have to do it before a month from today.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, see, you learned something.
And then you can pay it online, although the third-party processing credit card company will charge you 3%.
So you pay an additional 3%, and is that collected at the time that you make your property tax payment if you do it by credit card?
Yes, and the county does not get any of that money because we're not a merchant, so that's just the credit card fee to making the payments online.
I'm sure somebody has a question about property taxes or anything else having to do with the treasurer's office or the finance director's office. And that's why we have you here today. And we're happy to welcome Steve Christensen into the studio, too, our county commissioner for District 1. We're number 1. Yeah.
We are number 1. Yes.
We are number 1, yeah. And if you have a question for Steve, I'm sure he'll be happy to take that as well. So the number is 474-2427. It's the forum, and it's Finance Day in Gila County. All your questions are welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you. It's a Monday edition of the Rim Country Forum. Happy May to you. We're in a new month, and we are talking about Gila County taxes and Gila County finance and whatever else is on your mind. So let's go back to the phones. Say good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Good morning. This is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, I've got a question with the tax people there. A long time ago, not a long time ago, but I just recently sold a garage that I was paying taxes on, which was unhabitable building, and it was 16%. And I kept on griping about it, over the airwaves and stuff, that it's kind of crazy because you can't live there, and they're charging you more than the 10% you would if you're living in a regular house. So anyway, they moved it to 15% now, which is, a lot better. But why do they charge you extra taxes? Like, say, if you own a piece of land and then you bought a vacant piece of land across the street so nobody builds across the street from you, but that's all you wanted for is a buffer, that you're getting charged, penalized 15% for that, but your taxes, that and the taxes on your property are paying for a fire department and what else, schools maybe, I don't know if any of it goes to roads, but it's kind of crazy. I'm just wondering why, if a person owns another piece of property and they're not living on it, that they shouldn't charge them as much taxes on it, because, and if there's nothing to burn on it, if it's just a bare piece of land, then your fire protection is kind of a zilch, basically. I don't know, that's just my point of view, just everything's taxed so much, and if you own it, then they tax you on a lot of things. And
That's a very interesting question, Joe. We'll see if we get an answer here. Thanks for your call, and appreciate you listening. Either of you want to jump in on that one?
That would be, and I hate to do this, but it's where it has to happen. It's the assessors that does the taxes and sends out the valuation. So I would suggest
But he's saying the rate is different. He said that it's not just, let's say the lot is worth $50,000 or whatever, a vacant piece of property. He's saying that there's a higher tax rate on that than there is on his residence.
Right. And at the treasurer's office, we collect the taxes. We don't make the rate, and that comes from the assessor's office. So Joe Williams at the assessor's office would be the person to contact.
So they not only assess the value, but they set the rate for the property based on usage?
I'm not sure. Maybe Mr. Christensen can answer that question. It could be from the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Jump right in. Yeah, let's just pass the buck right over.
Well, the tax rate is different also for commercial. I know that.
Right.
So I'm really in the area of speculation here. So since it's not a personal residence, then it's likely assessed at a different rate is the reason.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing to look at, though, don't you think? Because I mean, if that in fact is the case, that if you have, he gave the example, and I'm thinking of one of my neighbors bought a vacant lot next to his home so he could have a buffer. He's not using it commercially. He doesn't intend to do anything with it. He's not building on it. He just bought that lot to create a little more space between his house and my house. And so when he did that, and I haven't asked him about it, but the tax rate on it, you would think would be just the same and rolled into the overall valuation of his property, because now he's got 2 acres instead of 1. But if it's taxed at a different rate, then that'd be interesting. I can see if he's setting up an ice cream stand or something, and using it commercially.
Sure.
Then it's going to be a different
Well,
rate.
and agriculture's taxed at a different rate too. So ranch land, open country,
Lesser or greater?
Lesser.
Lesser. See?
Yes. So that would be a good question for the assessor's office. I can't really speak to why the rates are what they are.
Okay.
And also, he might be able, when he's speaking to the assessor's office, and I'm just thinking about this, he might be able to combine the both parcels so it's just one parcel, like his main residence, rather than a vacant lot.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Well, that was interesting. Let's see what we got now. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
This is the other Joe.
Hi, Joe.
And I've asked this question on the air before, and I know it's not a county issue, I don't think, so they probably can't answer me, but I've never gotten a straight answer anyway. I have a neighbor that moved here a few years ago and bought several lots. He wanted some for a buffer also around his property. And when they were really pushing the firewising, it's been probably 4 or 5 years ago, I went over and talked to him about offering to help him firewise part of his property. And because he had several lots that were nothing on them other than trees and brush and stuff. And he said that if I go in there and clean those trees off, they'll raise my taxes. It'll be considered an improved lot. So he said that's why none of these people that own these vacant lots out here that have all the overgrowth and everything on them, that's why they don't go in and clean them up, is because their taxes will go up. And I've asked people that, and they tell me that they've never heard of such a thing. So I'd like to get a straight answer on that, if you can. I'll hang up and listen.
All right, thank you, Joe. Appreciate your call. Thanks for listening this morning. And that's kind of a theme here now. we didn't start out, but it is interesting. It probably does go back to the assessor again, but that's counterproductive, obviously. We want all of our citizens to firewise their properties, and if you firewise your property, you shouldn't be penalized for it, right?
No, I would think not. So I don't have the answer to that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will find out. I'm gonna ask about that.
Yeah, both of the questions are sort of in the same vein, and they really do. They get to something that we don't know is a problem. I don't know for certain that that's actually true, but if there's something that's set up that way, an improved property versus an unimproved property. Now, I could see if you're running roads through and, putting utilities in and, preparing it for some kind of commercial or residential use, that would be an improved property, and I could see that might cost you a little bit more, but it's not logical that if you firewise your property that you should pay a penalty for it.
That's true, and I don't know that answer, and I would like to find out too, because that is definitely an interesting question.
Okay, so last week on Common Sense Friday, we had a call that was tax related, and it's right in the same vein. He said, and I forgot if he said it was in somewhere in Europe, whether it was the Netherlands. I think it was the Netherlands. He said that when the tax assessor comes around, excuse me, on tax day, and they look at your property, if you've improved your property, your taxes go down because they want people to improve their property. And if your property is shabby and you have old wrecked cars in the front yard and you haven't really done anything with it, your taxes might go up. So it's just the exact opposite of how we operate. But I thought it was for Common Sense Friday, when you think about it, it's like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of logic in that. But
yeah, you kind of lost me at the Netherlands there. They probably have, for unimproved property, an assessment rate of 75%, and then they lower it from there. So
down to 73, you think, or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think they have very high taxes over there.
But firewising in our area is something that you'll take a look at, Steve, and come back and visit with us again, because I think that's a really interesting question. We want to incentivize people to do things that are beneficial to the entire community, in addition to paying taxes. We all have to pay taxes. That's what supports our county services. But we don't want to penalize people for helping their neighbors out.
That's true.
Especially if they own lots where they don't live. And we have a lot of that. Absentee landowners, we'd like to encourage them to do that. Mary?
Just one thing, Charlie. For those folks that feel that their property is not assessed at the right value, there is an appeals process, and they can contact the assessor's office and kind of walk through what that is, and then it can be looked at individually. But I know that that's one of the things that the assessor does offer. If somebody feels it's not at the right rate, they'll take a look at it.
Yeah, and we get those notices with our tax bills ahead of time. So a month or two before your taxes are actually due, they say this is what the assessor says is the assessed value of your property, and if you want, call this number, you can file an appeal, and they kind of walk you through it. Do you know how many people take advantage of that? How many people actually appeal their assessments?
There's a good handful that does do that.
Yeah.
And that's probably because when they have multiple lots and they want to combine them.
Okay. The other thing that's going on in our area and across the country right now is that the value of real estate is skyrocketing.
Goodness.
The value of houses in Gila County, like every other county in America, is just going up exponentially because of low interest rates and people fleeing the cities, particularly in rural areas like Gila County. But the tax assessments don't necessarily keep pace with what the market value of a house is. How does that work? Anybody?
I don't know that answer.
Well, we're going to have a program. We need to have a program and have the assessor come in and kind of explain all those things to us, right?
I think there's limits on how much the increase can be each year, a percentage. And the assessment is generally always lower than the actual value of your home. You don't actually want that value to be there. You're paying more taxes. So if you're paying more taxes because the valuation has gone up, it's not because your taxes have been increased. It's that the valuation has gone up.
Right, especially if you make improvements. If you add on an RV garage onto the side of your house or something like that, which is visible from the street, anybody can see that you've made significant improvements, then you're more likely to get a higher assessment.
Yes.
That'll be a good program. Maybe we'll get the assessor to come in and sit with us, because we'll probably get more technical questions like that. If you have any questions about finance in Gila County or taxes, we welcome your calls and your comments. 474-2427. We'll have more with Mary Springer and Monica Wolford and Steve Christensen right after this. Welcome to a Monday on the Rim Country Forum. Charlie Seraphin with you again today with Mary Springer, who's the County Finance Director, and Monica Wolforth, who's a Hewlett County Treasurer, new to her office, just 4 months in office.
Nice.
And Steve Christensen, new to his office, who is our District 1 Supervisor for the greater Payson area. Most of Payson, not all of Payson. I know.
Yeah, I just refer to it as Northern Gila County.
Northern Gila County.
Yeah.
Can we ask about that? Because last time you were here, we did talk about it a little bit. How is that going? The company, you've hired a company to help advise, or didn't hire a company to help advise with redistricting, and
so far we have not hired a company. It is the county's intention to do it internally.
Okay.
Because we're looking at $300,000 to $400,000 to have that done. That information is not yet to us. We don't know the exact numbers yet of the census. So this is done every 10 years. Do not know whether we're actually going to change boundaries or not at this point.
So can you give us, again, and I think you did this for us before, but for District 1, can you kind of give us the boundaries approximately of what encompasses your district?
Essentially speaking, everything, with some exceptions, everything north of Highway 260. So that's going to include Payson for the most part, with just a few exceptions. And all the way out 260, it would also include Colcord Road, which is south of Highway 260 when you get out quite a ways east, up to the Rim. So the exceptions are the Rim Club, Star Valley, Chaparral Pines, and Lion Springs Road area. The Tano Tribe is not included, and everything south of Frontier Street on the east side of Highway 87. So a little bit of an odd pie cut there.
Yeah,
but
we're
the
visualizing that map, and it's a little strange.
It's a little strange, but it all has to do with representation by numbers. And I hope I don't lose more of my district, because we have been growing up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
This is Ralph.
Hi, Ralph.
You're talking about taxes. I have a suggestion. People who are 65 and over who have a hard time with their finances, I have a suggestion. They could not pay their real estate taxes. It would go onto the value of their property. I mean, it would go against the value of the property. When their property is sold, then the county would get the money. There would be no penalties for doing that. You'd have to write a letter and ask to have that done. In the long run, the county won't lose any money, except maybe a slight bit of interest. But they still get their money back. But for people who are really hurting, it would help them until they pass away or until they sell their home.
So the taxes would continue to accrue, but they wouldn't be paid until the person over 65, the senior, actually sold the property.
Correct, yes. That would help some people. I mean, right now you can do that, but after you don't pay for a couple of years, I think you get in trouble. You know, if you don't pay your taxes in a couple of years, then something happens. I don't know what. But this would allow people, say, even for 10 years, from 65 to 75, say their taxes is $2,000 a year, would put $20,000 on the value of their property. So when they sold their property, they would get $20,000 less, or whoever sold the property.
Got it.
Yeah, It's just an idea.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ralph. Appreciate your call. Wait, Mary, I'm going to ask you on that one. What do you think of that? From an accounting standpoint, that's a little tricky. Yeah.
You know, interesting. The counties don't make up those rules, so it really is by state statute how tax collection happens. And so Monica can explain, you know, when people become delinquent in their taxes, how many years and what that process is. But I would think, you know, maybe it is a good suggestion, but it would have to be something that the legislature would change.
Okay, that couldn't be done at the county level. No. And what about delinquency? How long does someone have? If they can't afford to pay their taxes, they don't pay their taxes, the year goes by, and interest is being added to it. at what point does it become a really serious problem?
Well, first I wanted to mention to Ralph that is a good suggestion, but the assessor's office, again, has something called Senior Property Valuation Protection, and it's for seniors 65 and older, where they can apply to have the valuation at a freezing point for 3 years. So that would help in the next few years if it keeps going up in valuation. So that's something, Ralph, you need to contact the assessor's office, and it's called Senior Property Valuation Protection. Okay, and as for delinquent taxes, we just did in February our tax lien sale for the delinquent 2019 taxes. And out of that, we it was success even with COVID. We were allowed 40 investors. We had 41. One came in at 1 minute after we started, so I let him in. And we ended up selling over 207 parcels, and we collected $231,000 in past due taxes. So if you don't pay your taxes for 2020, in February 2021, it will go to our tax lien sale.
And when it goes to the tax lien sale, is that for a home? If someone's living in the home?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
and then the people who buy it, they can buy it just for the amount of the delinquent taxes.
Correct. Now, I wanted to explain, because a lot of people, and I've learned this, a lot of people think that their home is sold, and that's not true. What is sold is a lien on the past due taxes. So the investor buys and pays for the past due taxes, and he's earning at an interest rate, and the interest rate is at a bid. You have different investors competing against an interest rate, what they're earning. Now, the investors do not have any rights to the property. They cannot contact the property owner. They cannot do any kind of fix-ups or repairs. Only they can do that after 3 years. So immediately after they purchase,
but they have a lien against the property.
They have a lien against
the property,
not the property, the taxes.
They have a lien against the taxes. But
Correct.
if the property were to be sold, then the investors are going to the front of the line to get their money.
Correct.
Even before the owner of the home is going to get their money after 3 years.
Correct.
And how many? You said there were lots of parcels. Were most of them vacant lots, or were a lot
combination
of them?
of both? Most of them were houses.
Most of them were houses. Gosh.
The ones that we have left over are vacant land that are just over between people's houses and small hills and by the mines, and probably around here. I don't know exactly the area with Payson, but it's in Chaparral Pines, or where there's nice houses being built. People start off wanting to build, and they buy the land, and they never build, so they never pay the taxes on the land. They give up. They don't build.
Wow, I'm learning a lot here today. That's very interesting.
So now,
but these investors are wise to the situation.
Right.
So they go in, they make a relatively small investment by paying the past due taxes,
Right.
and then they have a lien against the taxes on that property. And then if there's any kind of a financial transaction involving the property, they're first in line to get their money back with interest.
Correct.
And they bid on how much interest they're going to charge?
Yes, the top interest rate, it starts off at 16%. Oh. Then you have bidders coming in, some say 16, and it goes down to 12, and sometimes it goes down to 2%. Some of those investors who bid 2%, I have learned, they only make only a few dollars, because then the property owner comes back after they get that letter that their tax lien has been sold. They come up with the cash and they pay it, so the investor gets the investment for 1 month.
Yeah.
So it's a gamble.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do it.
But at 16 or 12% in today's market, that's pretty darn
Correct.
Good guaranteed return on investment. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Hi, this is Don.
Hi, Don.
Hey, I had a comment and then a question, but I believe the census that is on the redistricting is being held up because the administration is being sued because they have their hands in the population count on the census, and so they're trying to change the numbers, and that's what's holding it up.
You mean the national administration?
Yeah, the current regime.
Okay.
So So that's kind of holding that up. Hopefully it doesn't change our Gila County too much for the worse.
Are they waiting for more people to? Are they waiting for more people to come across the border so they can make sure they can count all of those, or what?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, my question for the taxes is just as a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran. Is just that if they, the people that are there with you, if they could go to bat for us for more tax exemptions and request some sort of waiver to the state as the county for us, and push on the assessor because they have more access to him or them than I do.
Right.
So go to bat for me and others here in Payson for more exemption for less tax rates for us, or even a total exemption would be even better. You could draw more veterans to Gila County and really populate this county with really good people. So that's my question, is if they can talk about the veteran exemption.
You bet. Well, Don, thank you. Number one, thank you for your service, and number two, thank you for your question and for listening this morning. And it is an interesting topic, and as you said, we like veterans. They're good. They are good people, and having more in Gila County would be, I think everybody in the room would agree, that'd be a good thing.
Yep.
So, is there anything that the county can do with regard to that, or is that a completely again a state issue that the?
I do have a comment for Dawn, yes, and thank you so much for your service. And Dawn, you need to contact your state senate if you're in the Payson area. Her name is, she's also newly elected, Wendy Rogers. And I've seen some House bills come up with regard to disabled veterans and with assistance. So Miss Wendy Rogers would be more than happy to help you with those questions. And I think the bill has passed, and it needs to be now go through whatever the process is. But as a treasurer's office, I see those House bills, and they always want inputs from the assessor's office and the treasurer's office to either vote for, give their opinion, whether they approve it or oppose.
All right. Steve, I'm going to ask you, if we had something like that, if we had a waiver of property tax for disabled veterans, that would be a huge deal to the disabled veteran, but I don't think it would have a major impact on the county, would it?
Well, I guess if you're wanting my opinion, I don't think it would have a major effect on the county, no. The thing a lot of people don't understand, the county doesn't set taxes. The legislatures do that. So who you vote into your legislature and their philosophy on the size of government and taxation is important. So if you want to pay less taxes, you're going to want to be voting for people that support a smaller government, a smaller footprint. Now, the more that our citizens ask of our government, the more the government has to tax you. So you have to look at that balance. I'm a big supporter of our veterans. It would be great if we could have some relief for our over 65 and things like that. So it sounds like there's a couple of things in place for that. But I certainly do support that kind of thing. I don't really have a control over it, though.
Understood.
Yeah.
Mary, let's go back to you for a second. I just prompted another question. What kind of, when we talk about the disbursement of the tax funds, they've been collected, and now we're going to spend them, and that is the stuff that comes through your office, yes?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, as the finance director. So what are the biggest big-ticket items that the county spends money on?
We have a nice little breakdown, but it's personnel costs is one of the biggest costs. Personnel and benefits, that seems to be the biggest one, but we have it broke down into public safety. 33% of general fund goes for public safety.
And public safety includes the sheriff's department,
probation
department, county jail. What are the other? Can you tick off any other ones? I'm just trying to remember what else might come under that classification.
That's pretty much it for public safety.
Okay, so all right.
And then courts and criminal defense, justice courts, superior court.
And criminal
Okay.
defense, that's a public defender.
Public defender, county
Do we spend a
attorney.
lot of money? Is that a significant amount of money that we spend on the public defenders?
13% of the general fund budget goes for courts and court administration and defense.
Okay, but we haven't broken it up within that, so we don't know
No.
whether it's the judges and their staffs or indigent people who are accused.
It's all of the above.
All of the above. It's all combined. Okay.
And then general government, which is all your elected offices, the finance department, what makes Gila County run is 17% of the general fund.
So that's the supervisors, and then all of the county manager, the county attorney, all of those things. Or is county attorney separate?
They're part of the courts and criminal defense.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we forgot that there.
Information technology, the facility folks, finance, community services, community development. Yeah, quite a few different departments run under that 17%.
If people are interested in getting more detail of, say, okay, I pay my taxes, today's tax day, got to have my taxes postmarked by 5 o'clock this afternoon, and I'm really interested in where that money goes. Is there some place that they can go to get a more detailed breakout and say, how much are we spending for this? How much are we spending for that? How much does this employee make or that employee make? Do we have that available as a part of the public record? Or do you have to do a special request for it?
If you're looking for employees' pay and benefits, that would be a public information request.
Okay.
The county did put out a nice little booklet for 2020, which breaks down, when you pay $1 in taxes, where does your tax money go? Because it doesn't, most people feel when they pay the county the taxes, it goes to the county. Not necessarily, because it's broken up into a bunch of different districts. So you have the fire districts, water improvement districts, the school districts. Everybody gets a piece of your tax dollar. And so the document that the county published went out in everybody's mail, and there's additional copies at the county offices if somebody's interested in looking at it.
Excellent. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Hey, good morning. My name is Rod. Hey, 10 or 15 years ago, I was in San Diego, and the city attorney was talking. He used these two words I had never heard before. They were unfunded liabilities. And the unfunded liability of San Diego, what we found out was kind of significant, and what we're learning right now, the unfunded liabilities for the state of California is pushing $2 trillion. And I was wondering if Arizona or, in fact, Gila County, do we address that at all? Do we have that kind of a system here that allows for that? I'll listen on the air. Bye.
Very good, Rod. Excellent question. Mary, I see you nodding your head. So
That was an excellent question. Last year, the Board of Supervisors voted to take out bond financing to pay off our unfunded liability. And I mean, this is money that we owe our public safety folks, public safety retirement, the detention officers, and the dispatchers. Having something unfunded like that out into the future really is concerning, because that's their retirement money. And so with the wisdom of the county supervisors, they've paid that off. Right now we're 98.5% fully funded for the sheriff's office deputies, and court detention and dispatch are a little over 100% funded. And we've saved, by doing that financing, through the years of what we would have paid over the years, we've saved about $11 million. So quite substantial.
Yeah, I remember Woody Klein coming in and talking about that months ago, and said that if the problem was created in his mind by the Arizona legislature and the methods that they used to underfund the pension programs. The investments that they made were not good investments, and they didn't get the returns that they needed to get, so the monies weren't there to guarantee those pensions going forward. So the county issued bonds and sold them, and then that's not without some cost to the county too, right? Because there's...
We had under 3% interest, and the Public Safety Retirement Fund, their interest rate is set at 7.3%. Now it can grow more than that in good years. But if we owe money, we're going to get charged 7.3%, as opposed to a bond financing of under 3%.
Right.
So it did save the county a lot of money. It did fully fund, so those officers that have retired, they're not in jeopardy of wondering where their retirement dollars are coming from. And it also balanced out our payments over time, because it was going to grow from like $1.5 million to almost $4 million over time as far as an annual payment. And that's just something that the county couldn't absorb. So you talk about wanting to keep tax rates flat and not hit the citizens for that big bill. By doing the bond financing, it kept those payments level over time.
You said we've covered about 97% of the problem, but to Rod's question, we have some other unfunded liabilities?
This is in public safety retirement, and so when we did the bond financing, it was to fully fund at 100%. Well, based on their actuarial assessments as of June 30 last year, we're at 98.5%. Now, they're telling us this is a really good year for them, that they thought that their earnings were going to be over 14%. So given that, when the valuation comes up on June 30, 2021, it could be that we're overfunded. It depends on how much they've earned in this past year on those investments.
Okay, so things are getting better, but we're not creating another California, San Diego type of situation in Gila County.
No, and that's pretty scary. But, anybody that has public safety retirement folks in Arizona all face kind of the same thing, because it's a problem we all shared. Mm-hmm. Different entities chose to do what we did. I think there's a handful in the state. City of Flagstaff was huge. I think Pinal County did it. I think Yuma County has done it. So there's a handful of folks like us that said, yeah, there's wisdom in this low interest rate.
And the rest of them are just going to have to keep raising taxes in order to keep up with the obligation.
Yep.
I always like to tell people, if you learn something new, just one new thing every day, you're really going in the right direction. We have really learned a lot of things. What a good program. 6 minutes before 10 o'clock, we'll take care of some business. If you have a question or a comment, 474-2427. It's Gila County Day on the Rim Country Forum here on KMOG and KMOGcountry.com. For those of you listening to Kokomo, Indiana this morning, I know that probably some of the issues probably affect you as well, so maybe you want to contact your local politicians. We have a big audience out there in Ishpeming, Michigan, too. Yeah, we get a lot of calls from Ishpeming. I'm trying to think of some of the other places. Central Florida. Yeah, we got a call from an alligator one time. That was a little unusual. But, we're talking about a lot of things, but primarily we focused because today is tax day. And Monica, one more time, if you would kind of walk us through it and remind people of what their obligation is and what their options are.
Okay, so today, Monday, May 3rd, 5 p.m., the second half of your taxes would be due today. Goes delinquent tomorrow, and we will accept postmarked envelopes from your post office. Don't spend the extra money. Send it certified, overnight, or priority mail. Save yourself some dollars. As long as it's stamped by the post office, it was processed today, we would process it without any interest.
What if they want to write a check and come in and pay in person?
They can do that. Unfortunately, there's not a location in Payson to do that. You can in Globe.
And where do they go in Globe if they want to go down
there?
They
go to the courthouse at 1400 South Ash Street at the courthouse.
All right.
Or you can pay it online. You can go to gilacountyaz.gov, choose on the departments, the treasurer, and then just follow the links to pay your tax bill.
And if you pay it online with a credit card,
they'll charge you 3%.
You're going to pay an extra 3%, but it's the convenience of knowing that it's paid.
Correct.
Okay.
Or you can call the office, the tax office, the treasurer's office, and we can do it for you over the phone.
Oh, you'll take the credit card over the phone?
Yes.
Okay. And what's that number?
928-402-8100.
On my little sheet, is that 81? Is that a 1 and not a, that's a 1, yeah? 81,
Yes.
8100?
Yes, sir.
I was going to read it as a 8700 and I would have just messed up everybody. So that's 928-402-8100.
Correct.
Okay. And, or you can be like Steve Christensen. And Steve, what do?
Well,
We pay our taxes all at once. Why do you do it?
well, I was mentioning this to you earlier during one of the breaks. Yeah, I just pay my taxes if I can afford them up front because I forget 6 months later that I have to pay another part. So I just try and pay it all at once.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's some people out there where their mortgage, it's included in their mortgage payment. So we're talking about those that don't have that in their mortgage.
We have it in escrow. And then the banks, as Monica mentioned to me off the air, the banks wait till the last second to turn that money over so they can earn interest on it as long as they can.
Yeah.
That's the way it works, folks, in the real world. Well, Mary Springer and Monica Woolworth and Steve Christensen, thank you, Woolforth, sorry.
That's okay.
I was at the counter there ordering something. Thank you so much for being here, all of you, this morning. We learned a lot. And Steve, we're going to look forward to seeing you again soon. Maybe bring the county assessor back with you
I'll
at
do
one
some
point.
checking on that.
There's a lot of questions, I think, that do affect that.
And we
for all
want
of
to
you,
thank KMOG for what you guys do.
Yes,
Well-
absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Yep. Thank you for having us.
It's our pleasure. Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration, the Owens Law Firm, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, Pinnacle Propane, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center, the Dana Law Group, and the Power of Fives are our sponsors. We'll be back again bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Please join us then for another Rim Country Forum here on KMOG Payson. It's 10 o'clock. 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 It's 10 o'clock.